I'm on a war path, and so are all Generation Z young men. And let me tell you very simply why. It is because we have grown up in a society with no God, no country, no fathers, no men. Where's the fucking men? None of it. You know, the men didn't teach us how to do anything. We were not protected from our devouring mothers and women. And I'm not speaking strictly about, I had good father and good mother, but the generality, we're protected from the overbearing women by the men. The women are feminists. They're, you know, we're getting half the bargain. We're being told you got to be chivalrous and you got to be a real man. You also have to be a pussy, and your wife is not, she's not going to act like a 1950s woman, but you better act like a 1950s simulacrum of what a man is in a advertisement from the 50s. Stand down. Oh, let's not hate the women. Let's serve them. Let's be their slaves. You come last. You're nothing. Your job is to get resources for your wife. That's what we're being told by the older generation. It's just like a giant middle finger. And then with regard to the country, people are getting sick of the Israel stuff. People are getting loud about it. They're talking about it. We're getting cut down. People talk about Israel the wrong way. They get fired. They get doxxed. They get their lives destroyed. Nobody's sticking up for these people. And we're being told, don't make it a Jew thing. Well, it is a Jew thing. And with race, we're being replaced. We're white. The country's becoming not white. It sucks. We don't want to live in little India. We don't want to live in little China. We don't want to live in little Somalia. It is racial. I don't want to live in a racially alien country. I just don't. Period. End of story. No, I will not elaborate. And we're being told, no, don't embrace identity politics. It's not about being white. Yeah, it is. So altogether, you can take your liberal ideology and shove it up your ass. Okay, these kumbaya boomers, and I'm not referring to anybody in particular, but generally, these kumbaya wife guy boomers, it's like we reject your ideology. We are going back to history. We reject your bullshit, fake conservative, really a liberal ideology, your kumbaya, John Lennon. Let's drop identity politics. Let's all kiss and make up. Let's see no race, speak no race, hear no race. We're not going to say anything about religion or Jews or anything like that. It's not working for us. It's not honest. It's not real. It's not what anybody needs. People like Andrew Tate and me and Ye and the problematic ones for a reason. It's because we're telling the truth. And your country club conservatism, maybe that works in Martha's Vineyard. Maybe that works where you people live. It doesn't work out here in the streets. Doesn't work out here in them streets, okay? It doesn't work out here. When all the rich political people are in their arranged marriages, and they're all rich, and they all live in zip codes where there's only white people, and the only black people they see are at CPAC. They only see Herman Cain and Ben Carson at CPAC. Yeah, you can be really liberal. But out here, down here, different story. And everyone knows that.
Watching the world burn, watching the world burn. November 10th, 2025. Let's get into it. So that was Nick Fuentes up front on the video. And I tell you what, I mean, I can't believe how this guy has exploded across the internet. It's incredible. And he really speaks to the younger generation, from what I understand. That's where most all of his support is coming from, because I guess he's resonating, very well with young white males across the nation. And some people are saying he's the future of the Republican Party. I wouldn't say that, but I will say this: he is going to be. He's a force to be reckoned with, and it's too bad Trump is ruining everything. I mean, when Trump ran, I don't know how you felt when he first got into office. I was so excited because when Elon Musk went in there with the Doge, and then they cut out U.S. aid, and I was so excited. And then, Elon put that video out, FOFO or whatever it is, or FAFO. And that was a great video. And I thought, man, we're going to get this nation back on track. This is going to be awesome. Well, and then Trump threw Elon out of the White House, and he did cut some spending, but not much. I think Elon had a lot more. I mean, if you watched Elon on Joe Rogan, there are a lot of other things that Elon wanted to do that would have really helped us out, but Trump didn't want to do them. I don't understand it. That's one of the reasons that we voted for Trump. The other thing was, Trump ran on America First. America First. And everybody agreed with that. All the kids, because he got a lot of Asian vote. He got a lot of Hispanic vote. He got a lot of the younger vote, thanks to Charlie Kirk. The turnout was unbelievable. And he's completely lost that portion of the Republican Party. Trump has gone Israel first, Ukraine second, Argentina kind of a distant third, and then of course he was talking about Nigeria. I don't think he's going to do anything there, but we'll see. But everything's America last, and that has really turned off the younger generation. They're like, we don't want our money going to Ukraine and Israel when we can't even afford a house. It's unbelievable what Trump is doing. I can't believe he's turning away his base like this. And all over foreign policy. We don't give a crap about the rest of the world. We don't want to go to war with Venezuela. We don't want a war with Iran. We don't want to exterminate the Palestinians the way Trump is doing that. It's just utterly ridiculous. Let me cut off right here. I got some horses coming. I got to get out of the way. 1 second. All right, so the next clip I wanted to get was a clip of Tucker Carlson.
But I just want to say at the outset, because this has been weighing on me, I did say something that I really regret saying that I didn't fully mean. I said it because I was mad, which is always when I say things I don't really mean. When I get pissed, my wife's always telling me this. I was snippy and I didn't explain it. And I said something to the effect of, I despise Christian Zionists. And I'm just sorry that I said that, because I don't. I'm mad at a certain kind of thinking. Some of the nicest people I know are Christian Zionists, actually. If you're in a car crash, they would save you. If you need someone to watch your bank account, they wouldn't steal from you. They're like really good people and sweet people. I want to be very specific quickly about what I was talking about. In at least a couple of different occasions, the Israeli government bombed churches in Gaza and killed a bunch of Christians. And not an accident, of course. I mean, this is like a very high-tech military with precision. I mean, they, gave pagers with bombs in them to Hezbollah. So, like, this is a military, a national defense institution that understands what it's doing. They didn't accidentally bomb 2 churches and kill these Christians, and they never apologized for it. And so I brought this up with a couple of Christian leaders, and including the Speaker of the House, and said, like, we're paying to bomb churches? Because we're paying for it. And the response I got from every single one was, the Bible commands us to support Israel. And I said, so Jesus is telling us that we need to get on board with murdering Christians? Is that what you're saying? And they basically were just like, shut up. And I found that extremely, as a Christian, extremely upsetting. And I've never kind of gotten over that. but I should have said that. That's what I was talking about specifically. We cannot support the murder of innocents. I don't care what the pretext is. That is not allowed in our religion. And if it is, then it's not my religion. That's not what the New Testament says at all. It's not even a close approximation of what it says. There's no justification for that in the New Testament, period. So I am distressed. I don't hate. I shouldn't have said despise, but I'm very distressed about that. And that's specifically what I was talking about. So I just want to apologize sincerely for not being clearer.
I can't remember which one. I got about 3 or 4 of them, and we're going to play them all. I'm going to say the second clip for him and Megyn Kelly. Now, if you didn't know, we got an entire war. I mean, you thought the left was split on Israel. They're not anymore. They're pro. I mean, they've come together. We're going to lose the midterms. There's no doubt about it. The Republicans don't stand a chance. And then what Trump doesn't understand, he's going to get impeached because of what he's doing. Okay, and so the whole issue of Israel is what has destroyed the Republican Party. I mean, it's just decimated it. You got Mark Levin, a lunatic, Mark Levin. You got Ben Shapiro, Dinesh D'Souza. There's one other. Oh, I wanted to talk about Randy Fine. Well, actually, let's get the Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly video out of the way first before I get into this.
Why? Clarify what you mean, because when you were winding up on, the Republican Party has abandoned young men, I was with you. Both parties have abandoned young men, especially the Democrats, though, for so many other reasons. But why Israel? You're saying the focus?
Because all the
focus
energy.
is over there.
Yeah, I mean, look, Trump is elected. I campaigned for him and I love Trump. I just want to say that. And I talked to him the other day, and I love Trump. And I've known him for 25 years, and I mean, I could write many books on Trump, and they would be positive, basically. But the second he gets elected, who's the first person to visit? Bibi. Then he comes again. Then he comes again. And it's like the energy of the administration and of the entire U.S. government is all of a sudden about Iran. A war with Iran? Really? How many people do you know who've been killed by Iran in the United States in your lifetime? 0, because that's the number. How many people do you know who've died of a drug OD? Some. Maybe you have a nephew who did. So, what is this? I know you want to have regime change in Iran. I'm not mad at Israel at all. I'm not actually mad at Israel. I'm mad at our leaders for spending their time and my money focusing on someone else's country. And then I'm doubly mad because that's a total betrayal of the promise, which is your government works for you because you own the government, because it's a democratic republic. What the hell is going on? And then if you say anything about it, it's like, you're a Nazi, you're an anti-Semite. Well, actually, I'm not. And I'm in a really great place to say that, because I'm really am not. And no matter how many times they say that, it doesn't bother me, because in fact, by the way, I think they are attacking me because I'm pretty reasonable. Who would disagree with what I'm saying? Maybe you do. Okay, you do, but you do. You disagree with.
Okay, so there was that video. So that was another Tucker Carlson video. And we're going to hit Nick Fuentes here again before too long. But I wanted to talk about, that I always got to call myself out. All right. I didn't know who Randy Fine was. And I do believe he was he represents my district. And I got his flyers in the mail. And of course, there's no way I'm going to vote Democrat. And so I actually just I didn't do my homework at that time. I was busy with other things, maybe just making videos. I don't think I was working on the video studio so much back then. And or maybe I was. And so I just said, well, he's Republican. I'll vote for him. Turns out he's a freaking lunatic. So I voted in a damn Republican lunatic, and I apologize for that, because I didn't do my due diligence. And I hope that this is a lesson to you to always do your due diligence before you cast your vote. I mean, I wouldn't want you looking back the way that I am right now and regretting that vote. So let's just get another cute video of Nick Fuentes out of the way.
So we've deported 400,000 people in 2025. That's going to be the year-end number. It's nowhere close to 1 million per year. It's nowhere close to where it needs to be, which is 2.5 million per year. But they are combing through millions of visa holders' Twitter and Facebook accounts to see if they criticized Israel. How about the Department of Education, headed up by Secretary Linda McMahon? Are they going after the anti-white curriculum in the schools? Are they going after BLM? No. The Department of Education has seized the grants and the loans of 6 out of 8 Ivy League universities, Harvard and Columbia, and even non-Ivy League universities like MIT. At Northwestern, under pressure from the federal government, you actually have to attend a re-education program teaching you to be pro-Israel to attend Northwestern University in Chicago. That's what the Department of Ed is up to. What about the Department of War? The promise in 2024 was no new wars. We got into 2 new wars this year. We bombed Yemen for a month, and then we bombed Iran for the first time. We dropped bunker buster bombs on Iran's nuclear program, and Trump says we're not done. We're going to go back in. And who was that at the behest of? That was after Trump had lunch with Mark Levin back in June earlier this year. Why do you think Republicans lost? Why do you think Donald Trump has lost 50% of his support among 18 to 29-year-olds since the beginning of the year? It's because the golden age has not materialized for Americans. The golden age has not materialized for young people. Everywhere you look, every way you want to cut it, whether it's the Department of War or the Department of Education, Department of Homeland Security, Health and Human Services, State Department, which is revoking visas and trying to get Israel more land. How about the Department of Justice protecting Jeffrey Epstein, the Mossad spy? Everywhere you look, everywhere you cut it, the MAGA movement is forfeiting. They're giving it up. They're voluntarily losing. They're losing the forgotten men and women of America. They're losing the white people, the Christians, the young people. They're losing the Hispanics that came over in 24 in record numbers. They're losing everybody. They're losing everybody that isn't a psycho lunatic pro-Israel Jew like Mark Levin. Is it worth it? And why is that? We are being held hostage as a nation. We are the United States of America, biggest, wealthiest, most powerful country in the history of the world. Our sons, our brothers, our forefathers die in wars for this empire. We pay our taxes. We work our fingers to the bone for this empire, but it's not for us. Do we get the spoils? Do we get the fruits? No. The fruits and the spoils of all of it goes to a tiny and loud minority of bullies. Because people like Kevin Roberts and people like Donald Trump and people like J.D. Vance and all of them, they are all beholden to this group because they know that if they talk to Nick Fuentes, if they criticize Israel, you'll see the treatment that I got this past week.
All right, so there's that. Now we're just going to kind of go down some general news. I don't know if you knew, but I think it was Putin. But the Russians said they wanted to get with Elon Musk and put a tunnel between Alaska and Russia. I'm sure that's off the table right now, but maybe someday, and that'd be really cool. And it wasn't going to cost that much. I mean, it was like $68 billion. Of course, that's before the dollar continues to devalue. I don't know if you've been following. I've been every video. I've always got another country that's de-dollarizing. So I'm telling you, we're going to be in a world of hurt when that dollar's useless. I mean, I hope you bought up some precious metals during the drop. I hope you got some before it went way up. There's all kinds of stories. That's another thing. It's hard to find what to believe and what not to believe. There was just a story of a bunch of helicopters flying down near Miami on X, and they said they were unmarked with the lights off, and and what the hell was going on, and of course there's posts like that you get, and you're like, unless I get some more proof of what's going on. Like there was another post that I just deleted that there was a refinery in California that had an explosion. This was way back in October, and I'm like, I never saw another thing said about it anywhere. So if it happened, then nobody really did anything with it. So, but then of course, if you didn't know, in Ukraine, we'll get the latest update. The Dnipropetrovsk is gone. The Ukrainians that were in there are have either surrendered or dead. I mean, I think there might be a couple of little pockets left, but the Russians are mopping them up pretty quick. And that's a major, major logistics hub. And they're saying that this kind of just opens the road for the Russians to just march across to the Dnieper, because there's really no big fortifications now in the Donbass. And also down in Zaporozhye, the Russians have advanced there. They're taking village after village, town after town. I guess the next big target's going to be Kherson, and then they'll probably swing down and take Odessa. That's my guess. You know, the question is how many people are going to fight in Odessa, because that's a tough city to go in and take. Now, what they could do is kind of like, you know, they did with lacrosse. They just cut Odessa off, you know, because they got the Navy. They could cut Odessa off from the sea, and they could cut them off from the land and just starve them out. And that's probably what I would do if I were a Russian general, rather than go in there and root out any Ukrainians that are in the city. Because there's no way that Ukraine's got nothing left. You know, I guess Trump can send over the Tomahawks. By the way, another story was Russia says they might start testing nukes again. But before I get into that, let's watch another. I'm just trying to break up the video here a little bit. Let's watch another.
Israel bombed a Catholic church in Gaza, and that an entire population is being wiped out as they continue their aggressive war in Gaza. My amendment would strike $500 million in funding for nuclear-armed Israel's missile defense system. The U.S. already provides Israel with $3.8 billion annually in foreign aid. $3.8 billion, that's a lot of money. Additionally, the April 2024 security supplemental included $8.7 billion for Israel. Even though Israel, nuclear-armed Israel, has universal health care for their citizens and subsidized college for their citizens. They're able to provide that. However, here in America, we're $37 trillion in debt. My amendment will ensure an America First Department of Defense, and that is exactly what we need and we haven't had for a very long time.
All right. Oh yeah, so on the other side of the coin, I forgot to talk about this. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's saying, not another dime to Israel, you know, more or less, and let's take care of America first. She says she'll never apologize for being America first, and I won't apologize for being America first. I want to see the people of this nation taken care of. It's not that I don't give a shit about Israel. We're $58 trillion in debt. Israel's got their own nuclear weapons. They got their own economy. They can take care of themselves. They don't need American debt. We're actually just sending them. Well, the Chinese were owning all of our treasury, so actually what we were doing was taking the money and borrowing it from the Chinese and sending it to Israel. I'm not for that, man. We got to take care of our own. Let's bring the troops home and get Trump to quit starting. Oh, by the way, let's talk about Venezuela again for 1 second. I know I'm bouncing around. So right now, those ships have been down there pretty doggone long. And from what I understand, the carrier that was going stopped. And I can't remember exactly where, in the Caribbean somewhere. So they didn't send the carrier down there. But you have to understand, you know, when you're living on a ship like that with a crew, you could only be out at sea for a certain amount of time. So eventually those ships are going to have to go into port and resupply. And we're getting pretty darn close to that day. So Trump is either going to have his war or he's backing off. And let's hope he's backing off. Because I do believe if we just negotiate with Venezuela, we can work with them in a joint profitable venture to get some of their oil, as long as we give them the equipment and the expertise to get it out of the ground. So, you know, it's kind of a lease type arrangement. You know, we get cheaper oil prices and we help them with their infrastructure. Kind of like what China has been doing all around the world. So, alrighty, let me, I gotta head back, get the dog out. And by the way, let's watch a video from Marjorie Taylor Greene right here. And then I'll keep talking get some more topics on the way back.
I'm America first, and I don't apologize for that. And I believe Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, should be serving the American people. And when you campaign on America first, it's like having a restaurant advertising like a certain type of food, and then you don't deliver America first, and your customers come in your restaurant and the food's totally different, and they're like, wait a minute, this isn't what I was coming in for. You're not going to have those return customers. And I see it through that business lens. And here, I was telling my staff on the way here, I said, I voted to fund the government on September 18th. And here we are today is November 6th. And the House has not been in session since then. And I truly believe that's an utter failure. And you can't expect people to show up and be passionate about voting for you when you're not even going to work, and they're going to work every single day and struggling to pay their bills. So
all right, let's get back to the video. Got the dog walking on the way back. He goes back to the old battle, actually ex-wife tomorrow. So I had to get out. Beautiful day here in Florida, man. By the way, if you can imagine a wild swing, it was in the 80s today, and it's supposed to go down into the 20s on Monday. That's insane. So anyway, had to get out. It was like, oh my God, I got one way or another. I hate this daylight savings time crap. Because I'm trying to get up. Actually, I'm getting up before it's still dark outside, and then of course, by the time I settle down to watch some TV, it's dark outside again. so I guess I'm really not paying too much attention to daylight savings time. Anyway, getting back on the split in the Republican Party. So Megyn Kelly, she's doing a pretty good job. She's trying to stay neutral in the whole tussle up there. And she did a good interview. I encourage you to watch the whole thing with Tucker Carlson. And once again, I find myself in agreement with everything Tucker has to say. Okay, so let's keep going. So we talked about, Alex Jones came out with a report. This was interesting. We had those 2 pipe bombs that were planted on January 6th. And they tried to blame it on the MAGA movement. And I don't know how they did it, but I guess they got a DNA test on one of the pipe bombs somehow. And the FBI had been covering it up for 4 years or something like that. And it was one of the Capitol police officers. It was a woman. And right now she's working at the CIA. And they're saying they've got the identification 100%. So the thing that pisses me off, somebody somewhere, someday, Deep State Pam Bondi is going to have to prosecute somebody for something. I mean, well, maybe she doesn't. I don't know. That's another thing that's hurting Trump. When you see all of his supporters on X, they keep talking about the fact that nobody's been arrested. Nobody's been charged with anything. Yet we get all these stories, we now know that it was a Capitol police officer that planted a pipe bomb, and Pam Bondi is not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Unbelievable. Another post that people have gotten pissed off about, I'm telling you why the Republican Party is doomed, remember we were going to have an audit at Fort Knox? Now you don't hear a peep about that? Not a damn thing. What the hell happened to that? That was another Trump promise that he made. So when you look at Trump, the America first, gone. It's Israel first on everything. Let's see. That was a big promise that he broke. Doge, we were going to doge the government. Trump put that aside. In fact, he's got us $38 trillion in debt. That wasn't all him, but he hasn't cut back on the spending. Yeah, how about that government shutdown? I never thought that would work in the Democrats' favor. I mean, usually, when the Republicans in the past shut down the government, it worked against them and they finally had to cave in. Well, by not caving in, I guess it helped the Democrats win. It helped them win because the Republicans didn't come out because they're pissed off at Trump. Hey, let me give you a statistic on young men. Do you realize that 1/4 of all young men are growing up without a father in the Gen Z, whereas that was only 9% back in the 1960s? Do you wonder why the Fuentes phenomenon has taken place? It's because the young men, they don't stand a chance. They can't buy a house. They can't support their family. They can't get a job. They're ostracized. The women and their teachers at school are telling them what bad people they are. Back during COVID, they were neutered, had to wear a mask, couldn't play sports. You know, we've raised a whole generation that's pretty messed up, and they're lashing out. And Fuentes is the voice of that lashing out. I'm not saying Fuentes, I know I'm harping on Fuentes, but I've never seen a phenomenon like this. So anyway, Trump better start paying attention. So if he could get back, well, the economy, that's another big problem for Trump. You know, but he inherited that from Biden. I don't blame him at all for the economy, but the fact that he's sending all our money to Israel and sending all our money to Ukraine and sending all our money to Argentina, it seems like he doesn't give a shit about the American people. And that's what he ran on. Bring our troops home, Trump. Shut down one freaking base overseas. You know, we're $38 trillion in debt. Why are we still got 700 bases around the world, Trump? Huh? Chump. I'm going to start calling him Chump. Chump Trump. There you go. Take on him fired up. He hasn't kept a single one of his, well, the border. Okay, he's done a good job there. He's been good on crime a little bit there. But, you know, anyway, sorry I'm on my box, but that pipe bomb story, I had to get that out. So you got Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly. Here's another one, Candace Owens. #1 podcast in the country, because she's been talking about, and this is another thing that's gotten Trump on the bad side. Charlie Kirk was very, very popular. And everybody believes that the FBI covered up the Charlie Kirk investigation. And Candace Owens, she's been all over that. And it's launched her into the #1 podcast in the country. Think about that. And of course, Joe Rogan. You got the Mark Levin and Dinesh D'Souza and them coming out against Joe Rogan. So look at the split here. You got the most influential speakers for the Republican Party on one side, and you got some other influential speakers on the other side, and it's just a complete disaster. All right, if I get another video, we'll add it in. If I think of something else, we're just going to get a scenery video from this point on. Whew, I'm fat and out of shape after working on that video studio. Hopefully you watch that video. Not a whole lot to tell you there. I got some more computer equipment to recycle. I always encourage you to recycle all of your computer equipment. I'm kind of going through old cables and stuff like that to just clean out the office, because this is my chance to do that, get rid of some old computers. You know, I had like video cards that won't even work in modern computers. You name it, man. It's just time to get rid of a lot of that stuff. And then, of course, the other thing is now I got to get everything set up. So, for example, I was taking notes. I've forgotten how to mount disk drives in Linux, and I already done it. And so I just got to go back and look at my notes. I've forgotten how to install DaVinci Resolve in Linux, and I've got that in my notes. You know, so I got to go. And then, of course, there's plugins that you have to add to OBS Studio. I got that in my notes. I got to see how to work that webcam in Linux. I've never done it in Linux. I've used it only in Windows. So that's going to be something I got to really investigate. So you can see there's a lot of work left on the OBS Studio, but not on the hardware side. Thank God. Of course, I'm still hooking up cables. Like I was, you know, the previous server, I had to move it out of the way to put the new server in. And so now I'm kind of working on cabling up the old server so that I've got a backup, because it's still a great computer. You know, I built that server just recently too, even though the equipment was about 2 or 3 years old. All right, that's it for the video. Unless I think of something else or we get a deer or something, but we won't because we're making way too much noise. Peace out. Stay free.
You're going to infiltrate and convince us that this is the same party while we get gaslit about everything that's happening. Like I said, you lost the party. MAGA got fractured, not when Tucker Carlson interviewed Nick Fuentes, but when Donald Trump looked at us in our faces and said, Epstein who? That's when it was game over. Because Israel first is a cancer cell. It is a cancer cell, left or right, to everything and everyone that wants to play around with it. It is a radical psychosis that has manifested itself within both parties. And it is so radical that, in case you missed it, yesterday, they started attacking Brett Cooper. Brett Cooper, 23-year-old, bubbly Brett Cooper. She makes the majority of her videos dedicated to pop culture. Yes, she covers things that are, I would say, mainstream politics, nothing too daring, never speaks about Israel. And she did her part, by the way. Zionists wanted her to do her part and encouraged New Yorkers to get out and vote against Mamdani. But it's not enough, of course, because this is a radical ideology. You give them 100%. You even say one critique, and they don't want to break bread with you. They want to destroy you, and that's what they want to do to Brett Cooper.
All right, I remembered the other story, and this was unique. Evidently, the scoop is that Charlie Kirk was individually responsible for talking Trump out of going to war with Iran, which is another reason that in the conspiracy theory that the Candace Owens and everybody else feel that the Israelis killed Charlie Kirk. So that's it does add more to that story, doesn't it? If because they would have been pissed off that the Trump administration didn't go to war with Iran, and that they would hold Charlie Kirk very much responsible if he's the one that did it. So that's just kind of a sideline story I thought was very, very interesting. And I can't vouch for the truth of it, but I think it might have been Candace Owens that was talking about it. By the way, I keep telling you, check out the Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson interview. Check out the Joe Rogan, Elon Musk interview. I mean, they're long as hell. And then, of course, Dave Smith, he just interviewed Tucker Carlson. That was a good interview. So, we're getting a lot of feedback. I've been listening to some Ben Shapiro. He's not all bad. I can't even listen to Mark Levin no more. But Shapiro actually does make some sense here and there. And I can't go against Dinesh D'Souza. He's a good guy. He did so much with the 1,000 Mules, that whole movie documentary. And he's made some really great material for the Republican Party. So, I'm sorry that this whole debate has come up. But, when you run on America first and everything's about Israel first, and you got an entire generation that feels like they've been abandoned, that's going to split the party. No doubt about it, and Trump should have seen that coming. But, or tempered down his America First message, which, then he might not have gotten elected. Who knows? All right. So that was it. That whole Charlie Kirk story about him talking Trump out of going to a war with Iran. And that's another thing that's lost Trump a lot of support. He said he was going to end the Ukraine war. He said, we wanted him to cut off Israel so that they couldn't. Well, by the way, that's another story, just real quick. The ceasefire never took place. Israel continues to exterminate the Palestinians. They've been bombing the southern part where they got them all grouped together, killing them sometimes 100 a day. So they'll soon get them all dead. That'll make a lot of Christian nationals or Christian Zionists really happy. And then, of course, they're still starving them out. So that nothing changed when Trump went over. That was all about just lip service to get a few hostages out. And then, of course, everything, all the fighting went back to the way it was. So nothing's changed in Gaza, even though you're not getting much news about it. Alrighty, that's probably it. I can't think of anything else, any other stories I wanted to tell you about. But just very interesting. All right, on the way back, let's hit some other news real quick. So Elon Musk, I read a post that he's worth over $1 trillion now. And that might be the rate. I don't think anyone has ever gone over $1 trillion in net worth before. So I thought that was interesting. And on that vein, there was a robo-taxi that there was a neighborhood cat. I guess everybody loved the cat. He was real friendly, hung around a barber shop. And a robo-taxi, I don't know if it was a Tesla robo-taxi. I don't know of any other robo-taxis that there are, ran over the cat. And so they tried to save it, but it died. So there's a lot of people pissed off about that. So kind of just a neat little story I thought I'd get into there. The other one they probably haven't followed is the Voyager has gone out of the solar system. And it was kind of weird what it encountered. I don't know if you ever saw that Star Trek episode where they hit up against the galactic barrier, and it was this huge energy barrier at the edge of the galaxy or something like that. And I think it might have been on Voyager too. Anyway, that was what the Voyager ran into. There's evidently, as you're heading out into the universe, there's an energy barrier that surrounds the entire solar system. And it was like 10,000 degrees Kelvin. Now, the particles were really spaced out, so Voyager was able to go through without being destroyed. But I just thought that was very interesting. That was kind of a neat story. And then, of course, we got the Elon Musk story, the cat story. There's one other. I got to think of it. I had it in my brain just a second ago. All right, we'll get it here in just a second. I hate putting all these clips, but that's all right. I kind of want to get all the stories out that I think that you need to know. And then, of course, if I come up with any other videos later on, maybe we'll get those on the video. Oh, there was one more I forgot about that young people were really pissed about, was when Trump shut down TikTok and sold it to Christian Zionists. And then, of course, anybody that was pro-Palestinian or when I say anti-Israel or anti-Zionist, I'm not talking about anti-Semite, all right? But they were all immediately booted off of TikTok. So there was another whole segment of the population that got really upset at Trump. So you can see where he's just been beaten. You know, if you didn't know, the leader of, what is his name, Larry Ellison, he's a huge Zionist, and he bought TikTok and he just nuked the whole platform. From what I understand, it's you know, the fun of it is gone for all of the younger generation that were using it so much. So the only open free speech platform left right now is X. And even then people complain about the X algorithm. So you can see we're kind of getting to being censored again, except this time it's by the right instead of the left. So in my opinion, censorship in any form, way, shape, or manner is a bad thing. If you can't win in the debate with your ideas over their ideas, and you just want to shut the other person up, that's not going to work for you in the long run. Let's put it that way.
Looks like YouTube has quietly deleted more than 700 videos that document Israeli human rights violations, war crimes, and other abuses as part of an effort by our government here in the United States to essentially bury evidence of Israel's war crimes in Gaza and the West Bank. Now, according to reporting from The Intercept, YouTube surreptitiously deleted all these videos in early October by wiping the accounts that posted them from its website, along with their channel's archives. The accounts belong to three prominent Palestinian human rights groups, Al-Haq, Al-Mezan, Center for Human Rights, and the Palestinian Center for Human Rights. These three YouTube channels hosted hours of footage documenting and highlighting alleged Israeli government violations of international law in both Gaza and the West Bank. And it's really important to have that record because, as we know, the Hasbara coming from Israel is strong. Our politicians are bought, and oftentimes bought on behalf of Israel, on behalf of doing favors for Israel. And I don't want what has happened over the last 2 years to be misrepresented in history books in the future. I want documentation of the war crimes that have been committed. But there is a very real effort, and a successful effort at that, to essentially wipe the internet of these videos. So the deleted videos range in scope from investigations, such as an analysis of the Israeli killing of American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, to testimonies of Palestinians tortured by Israeli forces, and documentaries like The Beach about children playing on a beach who were killed by an Israeli strike. So according to The Intercept, the deletion only affected the group's basically their official channels, and any of the alternate channels they might have, or if the videos had been reposted by other channels. Luckily, those channels are still active. Those videos are still viewable. But the reason why these three accounts were targeted is specifically because of the fact that Donald Trump and his administration, soon after he got elected, pretty close or pretty soon in his second term, decided to target these three organizations. We all know at the behest of which foreign government, but you get the point. So while both Trump and Biden rejected the legitimacy of the arrest warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant by the International Criminal Court, Trump did take a hard stance in shielding Israel from accountability. In the early days of his second term, he renewed sanctions against the International Criminal Court, which is so pathetic, issued new, more severe measures against court officials and anyone accused of aiding their efforts. So it's okay to aid and abet the terrorist state of Israel. But when it comes to the International Criminal Court that tries to hold war criminals accountable, oh, we can't have that. We need to punish them and anyone who aids and abets them. In September, Trump specifically sanctioned the 3 Palestinian human rights groups, and the Treasury announced that the groups directly engaged in efforts by the International Criminal Court to investigate, arrest, detain, and prosecute Israeli nationals, as they should. As they should. Those Israeli nationals they're talking about have committed atrocities, and they should be held accountable for it. It's the first time the U.S. has levied sanctions against an organization specifically for its efforts to use lawful, peaceful tools of advocacy in pursuit of legal accountability. There is no pretense other than the group's work on legal issues that the administration doesn't like. And The Intercept isn't just assuming that this is the reason why. YouTube has confirmed to The Intercept that it deleted the group's accounts as a direct result of State Department sanctions against the groups after a review. They say, quote, Google is committed to compliance with applicable sanctions and trade compliance laws. YouTube spokesperson Boot, that's his real name, Boot Bullwinkle, said in a statement. Okay. So I'm not surprised by any of this, Waz. I don't know if the censorship is going to work now. I think in a day and age when legacy media really had like a monopoly on what kind of information gets out there, yeah, the censorship will work. But there are too many independent sources now. Like, what is Trump going to do? Just label everyone a terrorist? You're going to label Dave Smith a terrorist? Is that what you're going to do?
Yeah, I mean, this is what they did on YouTube it's just funny. It's kind of reminiscent of the COVID stuff and how far they took all of that, way too far under Biden. And this is just more of that. And it didn't work for the COVID stuff either.
Right.
Like people were like, wait a second, you can't even just talk about this? Like YouTube will literally demonetize you, take your video down. You know, Instagram, all these other platforms will just take you down for that. And I think this will have the exact same effect. It's not going to have a chilling effect. It's going to have an effect of basically magnifying what is going on with that.
Yeah, you're so right about it. And look, there's definitely a portion of the free speech right that was full of it. And they're definitely trying to censor today. But I'm really happy to see that there's a sizable portion of the right that was real about it. And they don't take kindly to the censorship at all. And they're calling it out. I love to see that. Because if there is that agreement between us on the left, who are very critical of Israel and anti-war in general, if we can form an alliance on an issue like this, the importance of keeping accurate information available for people, I think that's a good thing. And by the way, the censorship on COVID, I think one of my biggest regrets was how I handled or reported on COVID, right? Because I think I was far too deferential to the so-called experts. And in some cases, the experts were lying to us. Certainly the lab leak, they were lying to us about that. There were other things as well, right? The COVID shots. I got the COVID shot. I got the jab. Okay, I don't regret it. But I wish I was a little more vocal about how, no, young kids don't necessarily need to be vaccinated unless they have comorbidities, right? And demonizing people, censoring people who wanted to ask questions. They weren't even necessarily like declaring anything. They're just curious, like, is this really safe? Boom, your channel gets banned. I should have been more vocal against that. You know what I'm saying? But, at least I learned lessons. And I hope, and it's precisely because I learned those lessons that I'm trying to get people to understand, if you're engaging in an effort to censor people right now, you are only hurting yourself. You're only empowering what you believe are the so-called bad actors. And in fact, you might actually be misinformed on why it is that you want to ban these people in the first place or censor these videos in the first place.
I think most importantly, folks need to understand that it's always going to come back around. Yeah. Like, they might be censoring somebody you don't like right now, and you're like, oh, good. shut them up. Let's do it. It's going to come back around on you and the people that you feel aligned with eventually, I promise you. And that's the biggest reason not to support it.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.